Hey guys, Barnacle Barfer here, and today we're covering the F-16A, which fits a very unique role in War Thunder. It's an excellent dogfighter and flight model, but it's limited to a missile kit of 6 AIM-9Ls, which can be tricky to find openings to use when the meta revolves so heavily around pulse Doppler semi-actives and active radar missiles. So let's just get right into it. Firstly, we should note that now that the Netz and the Netz mod have now both gone down to 12.3, they are just objectively better versions of this plane. The Netz is identical in flight model to the F-16A, except that it gets Python 3s, which are just AIM-9Ls that are faster, go farther, and pull harder. And if you have the premium Netz mod, it's even better since you now get Pythons and you also get 3 times more countermeasures. You get 180 instead of the base amount of 60. What's even stranger is that the Kern S2000 is also at the same BR of 12.3, with the same 6 Python 3 loadout while being an F4E flight model. It does get 290 countermeasures total, but I don't really think that merits those planes all being at the same BR. But Gaijin hates moving BRs up, so we always get more compression instead of less, the game gets less balanced, yada yada, you've heard it all before. But if you have the Netz or the Netz mod, then most of this video should still apply, you'll just have an easier time getting your kills with the missiles. So let's talk about the flight model. The F-16s are some of the best dogfighters in War Thunder, and because the F-16A is the lightest, it is generally regarded as the best version. It accelerates well, goes fast, turns tight, and holds energy well. All around, just does all of the airplane things well. It does compress pretty hard at high speeds. Your corner speed is around 750 kph, and you pull about half your max AOA at 1000 kph, so if you need to do turns, try and stay below Mach 1. This plane's main strength is that its sustained turn rate above 500 kph is excellent, where if you make sure not to pull too hard as to not bleed too much speed, you can sustain a medium speed rate fight incredibly well. Though in ARB it's unlikely that you'll be holding proper rate speeds and stomping on the elevator works well enough for most fights, just make sure to keep in mind that your rate performance starts to diminish at lower speeds. You don't get an AOA button, but it's not really that necessary, it's usually just a gimmick on most planes, and this plane does well enough out of the box anyways. If you do need more AOA, you can use your flaps, which start deploying at 685 and are fully deployed at 445. Interestingly, the takeoff flaps are identical to the landing, except that they only deployed at 99%, so for the most part, they function identical. Also, the plane tends to become very unstable and hard to control if you take damage to your control surfaces, in particular your elevators, since they also act as ailerons that roll your plane in maneuvers. Using mouse aim in this situation might help, but it's still pretty awkward and is worth returning to base if you're still flyable. You burn quite a lot of fuel on max afterburner, about 6 times faster than at 100%, so it's worth bringing a fair amount of fuel and conserving it if you think you'll need max thrust later. Some people bring drop tanks in case they need to reduce weight for a dogfight, but I usually just bring 30 minutes and use half afterburner while cruising, full afterburner in dogfights, and 100% if I need to conserve. Now onto the missiles. The AIM-9Ls have a rather long burn time and so have a pretty long range, especially if launched while going fast, but they don't turn or accelerate off the rail that well, so aren't great at close-range maneuvering shots or head-ons. They also tend to take quite a while to get to their target, and their long burn time also means that the missile diamond and trail are very visible, making them very easy to react to. They also don't have IRCCM, so they're very easily flared unless launched from under 1 km in pure rear aspect with an afterburning enemy. 6 AIM-9Ls at 12.3 isn't a great loadout, considering at this BR most other planes have either IRCCM missiles like the Magic 2 and R-73 on the Mirages and the MiG-21 Bison, or they have pulse Doppler semi-active radar missiles like the F-18A or the EJ Kai. Both IRCCM and semi-active radar missiles are ways to guarantee quick kills when in a good position even if you're spotted, but the AIM-9Ls aren't either of these categories, so it can be very difficult to guarantee a kill on an enemy, and it's especially impossible if you're spotted and they can see you coming. So either you need to get really close within sniffing distance behind the enemy before firing, or fire on someone who isn't paying attention or cannot see you, and also not flaring somebody else's missile. Getting super close to the enemy isn't consistently achievable, so to make the AIM-9Ls work, setting yourself up with good positioning is imperative, otherwise your missiles will just be spotted and flared away. We'll get to how to strategize and position around these missiles in a bit. Your radar is okay, it has pulse Doppler search mode and a proper ACM mode, but I do wish it had a TWS so you could soft lock targets and see where the targets are in front of you and where they're going, instead of you having to either guess from the radar display or hard lock them and then warn them of your presence. The RWR is great, just your standard 4th gen RWR with precise direction, 5 to 50 km range display, and target ID. After having played the J11A and the F104 SASA, it feels really nice to use something that actually has a functional RWR for notches. And you get a total of 60 countermeasures, which thankfully pop individually, so 30 presses if you split them evenly. It'll still be somewhat lacking to truly feel comfortable at this BR since you do get quite a few IRCCM missiles thrown at you, for which it would be nice if you could just spam off a lot of flares without worrying that you're going to run out. But under most circumstances, as long as you don't get hard focused or don't have to flare multiple IRCCM missiles, this is usually enough. The gun is okay. It's a Vulcan, which you probably are already familiar with. High fire rate, high muzzle velocity, high drag. For a dogfighter though, it has a rather low ammo count of just 512 rounds, which you will run out of very quickly due to your high fire rate. In contrast, the F-15 has almost double at 940 rounds, so with the F-16 you do have to be rather conservative with your shots. So how do you play this plane? Well, the main issue to overcome is trying to get into a good position to use your AIM-9Ls. So the enemy must be spotted either by you, your friendlies, or your radar. The enemies must be unaware or not see you. And the enemy must not be flaring for any other reason, such as your friendlies firing missiles at them. The ideal scenario is if you can spot a bunch of enemies below you on the deck that aren't looking up and aren't flaring. This will give you an opportunity to lob a bunch of missiles downwards while they're not looking at you, and you might be able to score quite a few kills this way. I tried replicating what I did with the F-104 SASA by climbing to the right, trying to target base bombers after either my radar or my friendlies spot them. But even with the good airframe, RWR, and radar, I wasn't able to get it working quite as consistently as I wanted to. The problem is, if you climb above their base bombers, there is almost always going to be higher altitude enemies scanning your area who will target you since most of your friendlies will have gone left, making you an isolated and easy target. So a lot of times you're forced to just stay defensive as someone launches a semi-active or active radar missile at you, and you often end up missing the opportunity to kill the enemies while they're grouped up. And even if you do get an opportunity, you're usually only able to get 1 or 2 good shots off before you're spotted, forced to dive, and run to the deck. It's also very dependent on both map and cloud cover. Some maps, like EC maps especially, don't have a set direction base bombers go, so it's hard to pre-plan a route to intercept them. And a lot of maps have cloud cover at 3 kilometers altitude, which makes it very difficult to lob missiles from above while remaining unspotted, since you have to dive below the clouds to be able to get a lock for the missile. Still, I'd recommend you try doing this and see if you can get maybe 1 or 2 kills, then just running back to your teammates. If you do get hard focused by multiple enemies, which happens rather often since you're going to be on the enemy side of the map, you just want to run as quickly as you can back to your teammates, since if you are spotted and targeted, you don't really have many counterattack opportunities since your missiles can't guarantee kills if the enemy is aware of you and is coming for you. You might be tempted to get into a dogfight, but setting up a gun solution can take time during which you'll be spotted by more enemies and can get very easily third-partied. So at least in the early to mid-game, I would recommend just running to your teammates unless you're certain that you will not be interrupted. You can also try to go low and to the right, but I also didn't find that very consistent either since it limits the angle from which you can attack the enemies, and high-altitude enemies are still likely to find and kill you eventually. So I prefer coming in with a bit of height, using it to sling off a few AIM-9Ls, then just run to my team. If you aren't having much success with this and find this strategy too risky, then you can just follow your teammates going high left or low left, and see if you can pick up a few kills while you're close to your friendlies, though you will probably be competing with them at that point. In the mid-game, you can try to continue more diving stealth attacks with your AIM-9Ls if you aren't targeted and are able to climb again. You can try to stay with your team and furball it out, keeping your speed up and sending AIM-9Ls at targets that are distracted with something else and hoping that they don't flare. You can also use yourself as a pretty good distraction since you go fast and maneuver well, so you can make it hard for enemies to kill you while distracting them for your friendlies. The mid-game is mostly just trying to do as much damage while surviving the chaos. Not much strategy for it, just knowing how to react to specific threats, specific missiles and airframes, knowing when to attack or run, who to prioritize, multipathing, etc. Just survival instincts from playing and practicing a lot and dying a lot. So just try your best and see what happens. If you die, and you just move on to the next match. But as long as you don't get completely swarmed, you are actually able to juggle quite a few enemies, so if you have teammates around or you know that there aren't going to be too many enemies swarming you, then it can be worth going for a dogfight, which can be pretty fun. The late game gets pretty interesting depending on your loadout and the state of your team. If you're outnumbered, your airframe can handle 2v1s and potentially 3v1s if they're in poor airframes and you play your cards right. It's unlikely you'll get an AIM-9L kill since for you to spot them, they'll likely have spotted you too or notice your radar pings, so you can usually get quite a lot of fun dogfights towards the end of the match assuming you survive and aren't getting swarmed. When it comes to actual 1v1s, the only airframes around this BR that will give you any trouble are the Gripen, the F2, and the F-18s. To oversimplify it, the Gripen bleeds speed faster but also performs better when you're both at low speed, and the F2 is just better than you across the board other than absolute top speed. So dogfighting either of them, it can be pretty difficult, and you sort of just have to hope that they make mistakes, especially with the F2. The F-18 matchup is pretty interesting though, as they pull very tightly and will win if you try to one-circle fight them. Best way to engage them is to keep your speed up and rate fight them, hoping that they bleed enough speed for you to eventually loop around behind them and shoot them down. Though this takes time and isn't always possible if you're starting the fight at altitude. But that's enough yapping, let's actually get into the matches. This match I just wanted to quickly demonstrate what might happen to you if you end up on the defensive while you're all alone on one side of the map by yourself. I was trying the strategy of flying high and right again, trying to fish for kills, hoping that somebody would go for the bases that are on this side of the map. Unfortunately, this is an EC map and I wasn't able to find anybody that was in a good position. Maybe I could have if I was able to stay there for a bit longer, but now I'm getting swarmed by at least 2 or 3 people right now. And I really have no way of counterattacking any of these people. And my entire team is on the other side of the map. They may be able to see that I've spotted these guys and so are heading this way, but it's going to take them time and I don't know if I'll have that time to be able to survive. Okay, a friendly got the Su-33, I might survive this. And that's just the reality of getting up-tiered sometimes. Not all that much that you can do about it. So when it is a full up tier, I would try to recommend staying closer to your team. How likely you're able to rack up high altitude top-down shots is very dependent on the map and the situation. But generally it's not a good idea if you're in a full up tier. This match I was flying off to the side and unfortunately somebody spotted me. It's a Mirage, so luckily I'm able to dodge this missile pretty easily. I'm thinking, hey, it's just a Mirage F1, I should be able to dogfight him pretty easily. Let's just try sticking this fight and see what happens. Yeah, so getting spotted on this side of the map at all is just incredibly risky. It's going to get you targeted very quickly and you're not going to have the situational awareness to be able to know where all the enemies are. So if you do find yourself into this kind of situation, I would just advise running if you're not able to finish the targets off quickly. And even if you do find yourself in the correct position, sometimes you're just not quite able to get a shot on. On this map in particular, it kinda sucks because there's a lot of clouds at low altitude. And on top of that, my entire team decided to go this way for some reason, which means that the enemies are getting cleaned up very quickly and the enemies that haven't been cleared up are going to be flaring a lot because they're going to be defensive. The ideal scenario is that maybe 1 or 2 of your friendlies come this way so that they spot the enemies for you, but it doesn't threaten the enemies enough that they start flaring randomly. Now because I haven't been able to do that much, and this is one of the last enemies left on their team, I'm going to just try and hard focus them and ripple off as many of my AIM-9Ls as I can. The Mirage does have a lot of countermeasures, so this isn't going to be easy, but I'm hoping that one of them might eventually make it through their flares. This one's getting pretty close, but he flares last second. This last missile is actually about to get him, so I want you to observe it. It goes very far off to the left and then circles all the way back in, finding its mark. And so here you can see the exact scenario in which the AIM-9L actually decides to work. Now here's an example of the top-down attack working successfully. It helps that I'm currently firing on a MiG-23 that probably doesn't have that great of an RWR, so he might know that he's locked but he doesn't know what exactly is firing on him. I'm trying to lob the missile from as high as possible so that he's unable to see the missile trail as it comes down towards him. And despite the enemies in front of him, it looks like he's not flaring luckily. Let's see if I can get one more down on the F4J. Nice, that's 2 kills. I find another enemy on my radar. He's flying pretty low, so he's probably not looking up this way. Spooling up my missile, and once it's able to get a lock and he's close enough, I'm going to try and fire it at him from as top down as I can. The enemy does have to be pretty close for you to lock them front aspect. I get the IR lock, but I lose radar lock, so I'm not sure if the slaving is working properly. So I'm just going to manually guide it in with my nose. Let's hope that he doesn't notice it. Nice, there we go. Now I'm tracking a target that's a bit higher up, so it's not going to be easy to try and lob it down on top of him, especially since these clouds are going to make it hard for me to get above him. Maybe for this one I should have come down from below. I send an AIM-9L, but it's very likely that he's going to see it. Yeah, it looks like he spotted me. I'm going to try and turn away. It's an F-18A, which is going to be kind of annoying to deal with, since for me to really be able to get on his 6, I'm going to have to bleed him of all of his energy. But if he feels like he's losing energy, he might just dive away. So starting this fight with this altitude is not that ideal. But I'm gonna see what I can do here. And so now you can see that because I'm going below 500 kph, my rate has severely decreased, and so I'm not certain that I'm actually going to be able to come out on top of this. The F-18 also maneuvers very well while it's at low speed, so I'm hoping to try and bring this fight as low as I can, then regain my speed to try and get behind him. but he ends up dying to a friendly anyways, so I don't really get the chance to dogfight him. Interestingly, this match ends on tickets because an A10 is able to kill all of the enemy ground targets, which doesn't seem to happen very often these days anymore, which I'm personally pretty okay with. It means longer matches and more fighting. Okay, this match we're starting on an EC Vietnam map. I know from that previous experience that I probably don't want to get too isolated on this map since it's very large and hard for my teammates to help me if I get isolated. So I just decided to climb above my teammates this time to see what happens. There's an F-15 that's harassing me. I can't really tell how far away his Sparrow is from me, but he seems fairly close on the RWR, so I'm going to stay in the notch and chaff a bit until I lose lock. And at this point it still says that he's locking me. I'm not really sure what to think of it. I guess I'm gonna go back into the notch. I was expecting the F-15 to be a lot higher. Usually enemies from down low don't lock me up, especially since I was flying at a relatively high altitude and he had to run through quite a few of my friendlies to get to me. I'm less worried about the Sparrows, much more worried about the AIM-9Ms that he might be carrying. So I have switched flares on. I'm going to try and turn into him, and I'm going to try and dodge him as he comes in. It's a Baz. F-15s aren't too hard to dogfight since once they get slow, they're not that great of a dogfighter. Once they're slow, they bleed quite a lot of speed in turns, so this sort of scissors fight isn't necessarily optimal for me, but I'm thinking that I might be able to just loop on over on top of him, and then drop my nose down for a gun kill. Nice, okay, we got him. It looks like I did have a friendly incoming to help me if I needed the help. You can see that with that small burst, I've already spent 100 rounds of ammo, so only 4/5 of my ammo remaining. There are a lot of enemies ahead. I'm going to see if maybe I can try and lob some of my AIM-9Ls top down onto them, just like I showed before. I could radar lock them to optimize being able to lob them from top down, but I don't want to warn them with the RWR pings, so I'm just going to launch one at the Mirage, see if he notices. If he doesn't, I can't really commit to him at this point anyways, but it looks like it got to him eventually. One for the MiG-21 that just lost spotting. There's at least 2 other enemies around here, but I'm not quite sure where they are, so I'm just going to fly off to the side a little bit. Okay, that's 2 for 2. And I'm getting an RWR ping from my right. AI usually means it's going to be a Mirage F1, which for a pulse missile, I found that the R530Fs are actually somewhat harder to notch. I heard that they don't immediately lock onto chaff anymore, so it takes a bit more effort to dodge them than it used to. Anyways, it's an F-16 and a Mirage F1 versus me. The other F-16 is going to be the main issue. I think it's the Squadron variant, which means that he's going to have Magic 2s and AIM-9Ms, which are both pretty scary if I'm not able to flare them. Luckily, I'm able to dip behind this mountain to evade that first missile. And for now, I'm going to extend back towards this friendly F4J. This should make the fight a bit more even, so I'm going to turn back for the 2v2. Not sure if that was a 530F or a Magic 2, but I'm glad it's off of me. Hopefully the F-16 is focused on the Phantom and I can go after this Mirage. You can see after all those turns I'm still going 1000 kph, so I'm actually going to pull up to try and get to him now. I'm able to get the F-16 while he's distracted. There's an F-18A that's joining. That was sort of an optimistic launch. I don't think it's going to turn in since the AIM-9L doesn't actually turn all that well. Missile out for the Mirage. It's likely it's not going to hit, but I'm going to try anyways. And I get kind of spooked that the F-18 is actually turning so hard. If he had really committed to that head-on, then he might have killed me there. I do actually somehow manage to get the AIM-9L kill on the Mirage. I guess he was also distracted. I'm turning while diving a little bit here to regain some speed to increase my turn. The F-18 is somehow completely out of energy. Maybe he ran out of fuel or something. Anyways, I get an assist out of it. I kind of wish it was a kill that I got, but oh well. Now I'm getting RWR pings from somewhere in front of me, so that's going to be where I'm headed to next. I'm picking something up on the radar, so that might be him. I am pretty low on fuel, so I'm going to try and conserve it by sticking at 100. Okay, here comes the MiG-23. AIM-9L in a head-on is not going to be all that useful, so I'm going to see if I can get a gunshot on him. Not quite able to lead him as much as I wanted to. Maybe I'm close enough for the AIM-9L to get to him. He does have large caliber countermeasures though, so it might just miss. Yep, there it goes. Let's see if I can shoot him down here. It might be a good shot. Okay, I missed. I only have 87 rounds left. And now I'm down to 20. I do get the kill though, and there's another enemy coming in. JH7, I don't really have to worry about him other than his 2 PL5 E2s. But he doesn't fire any, so looks like it's the dogfight again. The thing does pull really well though, so maybe taking it into a vertical scissors fight was not the best solution, but I felt it a little risky and I wanted to see what I could do here. But it looks like my friendly's got a handle on this. Okay, good work. Now at this point I definitely should RTB because I only have 20 rounds of cannon ammo left, but there's only one enemy left on their team, so I want to see if I can hunt him down. It's going to be kind of hard to find where they are though because it's a large EC map and I'm pretty low on fuel. However, my friendlies pop an Avenger, he's on the short airfield, and all of my friendlies have RTB'd, so I'm thinking I might try to go for him before he's able to take off. And if he is able to take off, I should be able to dogfight him. Hopefully I can get to him before he repairs. This is probably cutting it pretty close though, because he's been on the airfield for quite a bit. Please don't notice me, please. Turning my ballistics computer on so that I can hit him on the ground. I only got 20 shots, I gotta make them count. Hey, nice. Relatively quick and easy 7 kill. It could have been an 8 if I had gotten that F-18, but still a really fun match. And if you remember the start of the match, I was distracted for quite a while, so you don't have to have a perfect start for the match to go well. This match I wanted to try flying high and right again, but unfortunately it looks like I've been spotted by a MiG-29. I'm guessing the guy I just locked was him. He's pretty far out, but I still do need to be careful because it could be a Su-33 or a Su-27, and their R-27 ERs are no joke, especially if they fire multiple at you and hard focus you. So I'm forced to fly even farther right to defend. Perhaps it would have been better if I had defended to my left so that I was able to get to my teammates, but right now my focus is surviving, and I'm all the way on this side of the map all by myself, and based on the fact that the MiG-29 and the F-2 are both pinging me, it's highly likely that not only the MiG-29, but the F-2 is also coming after me, which is a concern because the F-2 is not a plane that I win a dogfight against, so all I can really do is run and hope that he doesn't launch any missiles from behind me. RWR has quieted up. I'm trying to spot the spec to see if I can find the dot that he is. At least then I'll be able to plan for what to do next. And then I decide to turn my radar off to go even more stealth, because if he finds me in the wrong position then he could just swap me out with another R-27ER. But I'm able to spot him. I'm not actually sure if he sees me here. I'm going to fire a 9-0 to just check. If he doesn't see me, then that's a free kill. Okay, nice. I got really lucky there that he didn't spot me. I did see where the missile from the F-2 is coming from, so I'm going to notch it, and the missile has gone way off course. Hard to tell whether the F-2 has launched another missile at me though, but I guess not. It seems he has lost lock, but with the ASA radar it's going to be really hard to stay undetected from him. If I do end up in a dogfight against him, I'm going to hope that he makes a lot of mistakes. Flying under the clouds to see if I can spot him, and there he is. Missile out for him. I'm going to fly off to the side so that he doesn't spot me and isn't alerted. Keep the radar off, and nice. That was actually really lucky. This is probably one of the planes where if you really enjoy it, it's probably worth putting an expert crew on, because spotting is incredibly important, and because you also turn tight and you turn a lot at high speeds, increasing your G tolerance is going to be very worth it. I was trying to see if I could snag an already severed enemy, but he J's out before I can get to him. Let's see what other targets I can go for next. I'm going to try and spot using my radar, because I don't really see any of the enemies around. I'm not spotting anything in front of me either. Oh, that might be something. That might just be an AI, I'm not sure what it is. Oh, enemies off to my right. I'm going to go after them because they're actually pretty close. Radar off for full stealth. Missile out. Hopefully he's too distracted by that F-15. Okay, nice, it got to him. Ooh, F-2. Luckily he doesn't fire a Sparrow at me. Pretty easily able to flare the AAM-3 from the front. Missile out on him, hopefully he doesn't notice. But I mean, he did just fire on me, so it's not likely that he's going to ignore it. But he isn't flaring, which is interesting. Okay, I guess I'll take it. And not much else happens in this match, so it's GG. The matches I tend to enjoy most are the ones that last long, and I'm able to get dogfights out of them, and this one wasn't quite it, but it was pretty amusing sneaking through those clouds and knocking out that MiG-29 and F-2 at the start of the match. In this match, I have successfully been able to hook around from the right side, so I actually have a lot of opportunities to sling down missiles from above. The FGR did flare my missile. Hopefully this Mirage gets down though. Okay, it looks like unfortunately all 3 of my missiles missed, but this doesn't mean that you can't still do well. You still have your very good airframe. Maybe if I had waited for a better opportunity to dive in, then I could have gotten more kills, but the longer you stay up there, the more likely it is for you to get spotted and die, so it's always a bit of a risk, and it's always kind of hard to figure out when the best time to dive in is. A little disappointed, but I'm still happy that I made it out alive. I would like to turn back and try and fight the enemies behind me, but I saw that there were quite a lot of them, so I don't think I can take all of them on at once. So for now I'm going to extend away a little bit until I feel like I'm comfortable turning back in. Okay, it looks like my 6 is clear for now. I'm going to turn back in and see if I can do some damage. Unfortunately, there aren't that many friendlies around in that area, so it's likely that we're not going to be able to win this fight, but I'll still try and take this fight while we have the chance. Checking my left to see what the F-18 ping was. They're not within visual range though, so I should be okay for now. I trusted the F-2A wasn't going to have trouble against a Mirage, but he ends up crashing into the ground. But here I focused the F-4J. Hopefully he's not able to flare my missile. Sometimes you are able to confuse enemies by firing missiles in the head-on. I guess I just got really lucky there. Now for the Mirage. Looks like he's making a run for it. I should eventually be able to catch up to him. And I do have quite a bit of fuel right now, so I don't mind afterburning right now. He is flaring quite a bit, so I'm going to try and get close to him. This should hopefully be in range, though if he cuts afterburner, then it's still going to be pretty hard for it to follow. But it actually manages to get to him. That one I was actually quite surprised by. There are a few enemies left, but I can't find them, so I'm going to head to their short airfield, see if I can spot anybody there. I still have one AIM-9L and all of my gun ammo left, so if this turns into a dogfight, I shouldn't have too much trouble, just so long as I don't get 3v1'd at once. Ooh, F-18 taking off. I'm going to try and stay low so that he doesn't spot me. I'm coming in from the side, so there's a chance that he doesn't see me here. I was hoping to fire that stealthily, but he is flaring right now, so it probably won't hit him. Or not. I guess he didn't cut burner and just didn't change direction or something. This Mirage 2000 looks like he was going in for a landing, but he's not going to be able to do that with me here, so it looks like he's going to have to take the dogfight here. And he's going very slow, so I should very easily be able to get on his 6, just so long as I don't over-G. Unfortunately, I don't lead quite enough with this gun, and he's reversing his turn, so he might get a shot here. This could be a bit risky. Unfortunately, I fire a little too late. Hopefully he doesn't have the thrust to follow me up through this vertical loop. I'm going to use landing flaps to tighten my turn here and try and get a shot on. Okay, finally. I definitely missed more shots than I should have, but good thing he's down now. And very conveniently, the last enemy ends up crashing as well. So that was a pretty decent match, even though I ended up missing 3 of my missiles. Overall, I really like this plane. It's a really unique playstyle that gets me to actually enjoy playing this BR because you get to play as a little rat with excellent flight performance instead of having to play chicken with semi-active radar missiles, hoping that you spot the enemy first and you don't die. I think the F-16s are my favorite 4th gen flight models, so I'm a little biased here, but if you have the plane and you can endure stock grinding through AIM-9Js, then I highly recommend you try it out. It does also get napalm bombs if you really need them to stock grind, but that'll be all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.
Hello, princess. Looking to unwind? I find the best remedy to a stressful week is sitting back with a glass of red wine. It's just enough to take the edge off.